What's going on, you guys? It's Royce Jacob. Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to Waves Weekly, a series I post every weekend where we cover recent news and current events that occurred over the past week and I believe will impact the markets. So, as always, we'll go over each topic that we're going to be discussing and then we'll dive into each one individually. Taking it off, we got Bitcoin open on TradingView in front of us. You know we can't make a Waves Weekly without talking Bitcoin, especially right now. Very exciting times for Bitcoin in the cryptocurrency sector. So excited to talk about that, give you guys a little TA here, get a little deep, get a little woo-woo as far as the technical indicators are concerned. So we'll take a look at Bitcoin. I do want to show you guys this other very interesting. You guys don't be intimidated by this, although it can look weird. I just want to give you guys, this is kind of fun to look at things like this every once in a while. There is obviously some validity to it, but I want to talk to you guys about these Fibonacci patterns and what I'm seeing here. So that's going to be fun. That's more for fun. This is actually the fundamentals behind why I'm bullish on Bitcoin. So we're going to talk about Bloomberg Americans trade depreciating dollars for Bitcoin, okay? So this is just a cool little take that I want to share with you guys and kind of expand on this. We will then get into the coronavirus relief talk sputters. $600 weekly unemployment benefit expires. So today, the day of recording this, I'm recording this on Friday. I'm going to post it tomorrow. But today, the $600 unemployment benefits just expired. That's a big deal. So we will talk about that. I want to talk to you guys about some of the ramifications that I believe that could have on both the economy and the market. I do believe the economy is finally going to start catching up to the markets, and I will explain why. So we'll talk about that. We will then kind of segue that into the new stimulus check, okay? So this is a fun little thing to talk about. Everyone likes free money. Everyone likes that helicopter money. So we will talk about that new alleged $1,200 stimulus check, when you could possibly be seeing that. So we'll cover that, and then we will finish it off with some great news that's pretty breaking at the time of recording. This has just got released a few hours ago. So Microsoft is allegedly looking to buy TikTok. That's big news, especially if you guys have watched before. You know that my lady is pretty big on TikTok, so that's good news for me. I was honestly pretty pissed off. I understand some of the allegations against China. It's a Chinese company. Everyone wants their privacy. I never thought it was a big deal. I'll explain a little further why, but I'm very excited to see this news. This is great news for Microsoft. I think this is a great buying opportunity for Microsoft, so excited to talk about that as well. Before we get into this, I will ask you guys to please give the video a like if you do go on to gain value from it, or if you're excited about Bitcoin or any of the things we're talking about today. Subscribe to the channel if you're new around here, and check out my complete portfolio and daily newsletter. First link in the description if you're interested. All right, so Bitcoin, again, this is Bitcoin weekly candles. We're looking back a few years here. You can see the 2017 bull run right here, and Bitcoin is looking so good right now. If you guys don't remember, if you guys haven't seen this yet, Bitcoin did break this, I gotta zoom out, this multi-year downtrend that it has been setting for. I mean, you could draw it right there. That's the most conservative place to draw it. So Bitcoin has finally broken, just over the past week, broken a multi-year downtrend that it has been setting since it crashed, since the bubble popped back in 2017. All right, so that is the primary technical reason behind Bitcoin's movement, behind the recent bull rally we've seen in Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency space. So I want to talk to you guys a little bit about. I talked to you guys about that a lot already, so I don't want to talk about kind of the just the standard stuff. I know a lot of you guys already know that already. I want to talk to you guys about a fun little Fibonacci pattern. So I used to use these guys. I used to use these kind of a lot back when I was kind of geeking out over TA and stuff. If you guys have watched the videos recently, you would know that I really don't get into TA much at all lately, or any intricate forms of TA, that is, just because I don't feel they're super useful, but I do like to look at them sometimes. Again, you guys, it is cool to just have different perspectives, kind of expand your thought process in regard to looking at charts sometimes, okay? And the Fibonacci pattern has actually been one of my favorite ways to look at charts. It's because I did talk about this yesterday, but to sum it up, charts, when I look at charts, I view charts as kind of a way to print human psyche and trader psyche, investor sentiment, whatever, on a chart. Okay, that's what I see charts as. It's not just technical patterns. You're not just looking at a bunch of bars and there's all the indicators you can use. There's so many indicators on TradingView that exist. But I just think charts are kind of human psychology, trader psychology printed out in front of you, okay? So that's the reason I like the Fibonacci pattern. The Fibonacci sequence is like the sequence of nature. It's nature and mathematics married together, and that's why I believe it is a cool pattern to implement in a chart. And if you look at this, you can see that So the way you use the ultimate high and the ultimate low, and that's just Fibonacci 101, and then it creates this nice pattern. And you can see that it does use these lines, these like areas of support and resistance as such in this pattern. All right, so you can see here it did use this line of support pretty solid. Just recently, okay? So actually not just recently, this is going back like a year or so, but it has used this line, especially on a macro scale, pretty well as a line of support. You can see just around here, so like just look, I'm sure a lot of you guys can see them. It's just a support and resistance, you guys get the point. But what's cool about this is in regard to where I think Bitcoin could go next, this is aligning with a lot of other articles I've seen. I don't have it up, but I've seen $14,000 Bitcoin over the coming month or so, a few places. And again, I don't have the article up, but I do want to show you guys this other Fibonacci sequence that I stumbled upon by Mr. Sporia, a very interesting name. You get some interesting characters on TradingView here, but shout out Shroom Game, shout out Shroom Gang, shout out Sporia. So yeah. Interesting chart by Sporia. I honestly, this is very interesting. He seems very confident in this. You guys remember, this is kind of just for fun. It's fun just to kind of look at things like this sometimes and just, again, expand your train of thought. I'm not putting a whole lot of weight on this, but again, I just wanted to share this with you guys because I thought it was interesting. So I used a Fibonacci fan sequence in this. That's why you can see it fanning out. But Mr. Shroomy over here used a Fibonacci, like a circle wedge, okay? So I'm not exactly sure what he's doing here, to be completely honest. Again, this is not putting a lot of weight on this, just for fun. But what he's saying is that he's looking mid to late August to early to mid-September. That's kind of a wide range for 14K Bitcoin. And again, I don't know exactly how he ended up playing this out. But at the end of August, he's looking at about 14 to 14.3, just low 1400s. And that does align with where this point of resistance could come into play. So around, I mean, this goes a little further. Mine's going to like mid-September. But you're looking at like a $14,000 Bitcoin. Actually, no, that's like perfect. So you get to August 30th right here, August 31st, sorry, end of August, you're at like exactly $14,000. And again, I know Mike Novogratz, he's a large voice in the Bitcoin space, head of Galaxy Digital. He was saying the same thing. I wish I should have pulled the article up. It's not that important. He was just kind of making the claim. But again, there is a lot of things coming into play here. I'm not saying these are super valid indicators and will for sure happen. You guys remember this could. The markets, you never know exactly what's going to happen. You just use the data and the information available to you to make the most educated decision that you can. So remember, you guys, this could absolutely take a turn right now. And but even if it does, it still has time. That's a full month until we see another rally. And $14,000 does line up nicely in regard to like just beating the recent high or the last high that it saw back in June of 2019. So over a year ago, it'd be beautiful to see it break above that high to really solidify this next bull market. So if it's able to hit $14,000 as expected, as I expected to, I think, again, with all the fundamental factors, which we will cover now, I think it's entirely possible for it to break $14,000. And once it does that, it really does solidify just the validity of this bull market, of what everyone's expecting to be the next cryptocurrency bull market. Okay, so let's get into this. Bloomberg, Americans trade depreciating dollars for Bitcoin. Low yielding dollar savings account aren't cutting it for Americans anymore. A Bloomberg article claims that Americans are foregoing the safety of the dollar for more speculative assets like stocks, gold, and Bitcoin. High savings rates, low yields. Because of the COVID-19 lockdown, the personal savings rate in the U.S. is at a historic high. The yield offered by the financial institutions on savings accounts, however, is close to zero. At the same time, assets like Bitcoin, equities, and gold all have made double-digit gains since March. This is making them an attractive opinion for investors. All right, so I'll read this. July was the U.S. dollar's worst month in a decade. That's crazy. The reality is even worse than what the Bloomberg article posits. It is no secret that the dollar is rapidly depreciating against other leading fiat currencies. In fact, according to the Financial Times, July is the dollar's worst month in a decade. With another round of stimulus checks around the... Actually, no, hold on. I'll wait to read that because that segues into the next topic. Okay, so you can see here, this is the U.S. dollar. This is Bitcoin right here. And it's looking... it's looking strong. Or you're seeing just assets, safe haven assets, you guys. It makes perfect sense. As the dollar depreciates in value, or as the dollar, yes, as the dollar appreciates in value, assets like Bitcoin, assets that will preserve your wealth and will actually provide a return on top of that, are obviously more attractive places to park your capital, and that does also explain why stocks are seeing such a. I mean, I talk so much about the retail investor movement, and it's great. Although it does create for it does make for a very volatile and very uncertain and very new kind of new terrain within the markets. It's good because these people who are being introduced to investing for the first time are taking that step towards financial literacy, financial freedom, which is again a game you can play for life, especially if you guys are starting young, or if you know anyone who's starting young. It's easy to rip on these new traders, these day traders, these retail Joes who are entering the market, but it's a great thing. It's a net positive over the long term that people are becoming financially educated, and it's a great thing that people are saving their money. They're putting their money into appreciating assets like Bitcoin, like stocks, and it's good. Again, especially in a world with a deflationary dollar, government printing trillions of it. I say that all the time. The money printer has been going burr for a long time now, and it will likely keep doing so. Again, especially with this kind of these acts that keep coming out, these next stimulus packages that we're about to talk about. You want your money in assets that will retain value and provide returns on top of that. Okay, so with another round of stimulus checks around the corner and most of the nation still affected by COVID-19 restrictions, it is possible that this problem will only get worse. Americans may likely have more depreciating fiat on their hands in the short term and could seek to convert their holdings into higher yielding assets. However, there is no such thing as a free lunch. In the investment world, high return comes with high risk. Okay, so remember that, you guys. Stocks are the best example of this right now in my minds. We've seen like all equity indices, all Apple, Amazon, Facebook, they're all at all-time highs right now. And I did just talk about that in the, I recommend you guys go watch the video I posted yesterday, the Trading Week recap, talking about Apple's earnings and talking about how overvalued, how traditionally overvalued, again, overvalued is like a relative term now, which is kind of weird, but it is. So it's not overvalued, but it is historically overvalued. I'll say that much. So historically, the market is extremely overvalued right now, and that's what worries me, especially with a depreciating dollar. If some of these people who have parked their money in stocks and see those as assets that will retain their wealth and provide returns, high yielding assets, if that crashes, then that's no good, especially if the dollar is worth less when that crashes too. But that's the beauty of Bitcoin. Bitcoin, again, you guys, is the ideal safe haven asset. I described it as digital gold. It is scarce. It is finite. It has absolute scarcity. It is digital. And yeah, I see big things for Bitcoin in the future. I did mention a lot of the stocks in the sector, Riot, Hive, Overstock, Mara, very bullish on those right now. Those have seen some very, on Friday, those saw some very exciting price action after hours. So super excited to cover those with you guys tomorrow and going into next week as well. But let's get into the stimulus package, okay? So coronavirus relief talks sputter as $600 weekly unemployment benefit expires and Washington plays blame game. So key points, I'm just going to read the key points here, and then I'll kind of rant on a little bit. Republicans and Democrats have made little progress towards a coronavirus relief deal as economic data shows an economy still reeling from the coronavirus pandemic. An enhanced federal unemployment benefit is expiring after Friday, following government data that shows jobless claims increased for 2 straight weeks. So that's very bad news. Jobless claims going up, compensation and that extra, the CARES Act, the extra $600 goes down. And okay, so again, wait for the rant. Democrats have rejected the possibility of passing a short-term extension while the sides negotiate a broader deal. Republicans started to float a short-term fix this week after they released their aid proposal on Monday, more than 2 months after the Democrats passed their rescue bill in the House. All right, so again, these guys are just butting heads. There's nothing new here. These guys take forever to come to conclusions, actually establish a plan. But this is a very, very detrimental thing for the economy, is ending this bill. Again, I know all of you, I'm fortunate enough to be able to do this, to be a trader, to make YouTube videos, to have you guys here with me, supporting me. And I'm fortunate in the sense, again, it's work, but I'm thankful for that work because a lot of people, again, 2 weeks in a row, jobless claims are going up. That's not what's supposed to happen. As the economy reopens and obviously things are getting pulled back, jobs are supposed to come back. But the reality is, I knew this, this was obvious the whole time if you just thought about it. Small to medium-sized, huge companies are going to be just fine, okay? small to medium-sized businesses are fucked. Like, they're toast. They're in such, like, I know multiple restaurant owners, multiple small, medium-sized business owners. They're having a harder time than they ever have in history, and it's not likely that a lot of these businesses are going to be back, and that's the sad truth. And all the employees who work for those small to medium-sized businesses, you know how many restaurant employees of like small to medium-sized restaurants there are out there? There's a lot, and a lot of them aren't coming back, and that's a sad reality. But that's the reality. And when I'm sure a lot of you guys know people in this situation, like, this $600 is a big deal, especially if you live in places that are like Hawaii. It's a big deal. California, it's a big deal. Like East Coast, West Coast, like higher cost of living states. You need that $600, and stripping that away will have a very, very negative impact on the economy, on consumer spending, and on the markets as well. Because think about how many people were getting this. Again, it's free money. They aren't working for it, which is why I agree that it should be lowered, to be completely honest. And because I think it's terrible to incentivize not working and unemployment, which is kind of what you're doing. If you're paying people more than they were making before working, there's zero incentive to go back to work, even if you have a job. But it needs to be, I do agree it needs to be lowered. I think what's likely is going to happen is it's going to go down to about $200 instead of $600. And then there's some other little ways, like percentage of previous income. So they're going to give you like 70% of what you were making prior. So it's not bad, but I do agree with not incentivizing people to not work. But the reality is there's not a lot of jobs to go back to, and even if they did want to work, a lot of them are not going to be able to. Okay, so this is inevitably going to have a negative impact on the economy and the markets as well. Imagine how many people are getting this $600, throwing it straight into Robinhood. There's probably a lot of them. So I think this will be detrimental to the economy and the markets. And like I was saying in the beginning, I do feel like the economy is now going to finally start catching up to the markets. I've been saying that for a long time, and it hasn't happened yet. So, I mean, what do I know? But that's just what I think, okay? So let's move on to a little funner, or get way more lighthearted from here on out. So when could your new stimulus check come from the IRS? Here are possible payment dates. The next stimulus package would likely send out a payment of up to $1,200 per person. I mean, same thing as the last time. Everyone likes that $1,200, but you won't receive it right away. So I pretty much just want to go scroll down to this little chart that they have here. So they're pretty much just basing this chart on the recent, or on the last CARES Act payment. So date sent and passed was March 25th. First check sent April 15th. So about 3 weeks later. So it would make sense that if all goes accordingly, like if the Senate passes on the 6th, then it would be likely that 3 weeks from that point, or a little give or take a few weeks, 2-3 weeks from that point, the first checks would be sent out. Again, they already did this as well, so it should be a little more efficient this time around. So hopefully by the end of August, you and I, all of us, will see some nice helicopter money, see some nice $1,200 checks. Please let me know what you'll do with that $1,200 check. Let me know what you did with the last one. Did you get it invested? It's funny. I remember seeing Brian Armstrong, who's the CEO, founder of Coinbase, one of the largest cryptocurrency exchanges in the world. I remember he tweeted something during the first round of stimulus checks, where he showed the amount of Bitcoin purchases for exactly $1,200 on that day, on the week that the stimulus checks were initially sent out, and it was just sky high. Like it was parabolic. It was a hockey stick, but it makes sense. Again, like we were just talking about, like people want to put their money into things that are high yielding, that will store their wealth and create wealth for them, instead of a dollar that's being printed and depreciated. Okay, so that's the primary takeaway from this one. I know I preach this a lot, you guys, but please just be mindful. Even if you just watch for my trading videos and stuff, like, to be a good trader, you have to understand finance and economics. It's one big ecosystem. The markets don't just operate within themselves. I mean, they kind of are right now, to be honest. They're kind of independent from everything else, but when things resume as normal, as I expect them to, they might not remember that, but I mean, I expect it wouldn't make sense to me for them to not resume some sense of like rationality. You do have to keep in mind that, I completely forgot what I was saying. I'm going to stop ranting on that. Let's just move on to Microsoft and TikTok. All right, so Microsoft said to be in talks to buy TikTok as Trump weighs curtailing app. Discussions come as TikTok's ownership by a Chinese company is under scrutiny by the White House and lawmakers. TikTok, the Chinese-owned video app that has been under scrutiny from the Trump administration, is in talks to sell itself to Microsoft and other companies as President Trump weighs harsh actions against the business, including forcing TikTok to divorce itself from parent company ByteDance, said people with knowledge of the discussions. All right, so I have talked about this a few times in previous Waves Weeklies. Again, Microsoft this is such a good deal. So TikTok, if you guys aren't caught up or familiar with the situation, TikTok is a Chinese company owned by ByteDance. Whenever you have a Chinese company, the Chinese government pretty much owns, in a sense, every single Chinese company, even private or not, public or not. The Chinese government has a huge, just plays a huge role in all these companies and has access to all the data within these companies. And a big worry was that TikTok is on the phones of many Americans, and that is invasion of privacy in a sense. You can use that data for harm, and I get it if large corporations, if the U.S. military doesn't allow their personnel, CIA, hire individuals who could have their data or phones hacked into and could pose a national security threat. That makes sense. Amazon employees, Apple employees, Facebook employees, large tech employees, government employees, make sense to not have TikTok on their phones. That's fine. But for 99% of Americans who are like the 12 to 18-year-old girls and boys on TikTok, what does it matter? And I get you can get into the cultural argument of it a bit, like they're hacking our culture. I mean, I haven't heard one good argument for a reason why that 99%, aside from, again, government officials, high net worth individuals, tech employees, etc., shouldn't have it. I agree with that, but I disagree that it's a security threat if just a bunch of kids who love this app have it on their phone. I've never seen an issue with that. Please let me know what the issue is, and if you feel it's a good issue, and I will feel it's a good issue as well. Please only comment if it's legit. So please let me know. And again, I've mentioned this before as well. My girl is an artist on TikTok. She has a large following on there. She does get income, like a decent amount of income off of TikTok. That's why it pisses me off that, and there's so many people like that. So many people who have, and she is diversified across platforms a little bit, but I mean, her largest following is by far on TikTok, and that applies to so many people who've grown a following on TikTok. And it seemed unfair just to pull the plug on an app when again, it's really not, I feel it's not detrimental. All right. So this is a great acquisition. Sorry to rant a little bit there, but Microsoft seems like the perfect buyer for TikTok. It would make things balanced a little more. Like Google owns YouTube. Microsoft also owns LinkedIn. Facebook obviously owns Facebook and Instagram. So this would even the playing field out a little bit. It would honestly take some pressure off Facebook in terms of antitrust and monopolistic practice. So it would be very cool if Microsoft is able to expand their social wheelhouse and acquire TikTok. I think that's a great buyer. They have the cash to do it. They have more than enough cash to do so. I mean, TikTok's probably worth a few $100 billion at this point. So it would be a huge acquisition, but I think it would be very worthwhile for Microsoft and the U.S. economy. And again, TikTok is also starting to pay their creators, which a lot of them are U.S. The biggest TikTok stars in the world are all U.S. So that's money from China, from these Chinese companies into the U.S. citizens' pockets, U.S. entrepreneurs' pockets, which I'm always a fan of. All right, so we will call it there, you guys. I know we didn't talk about stocks much, but if you guys do want to know exactly what I'm trading, what my positions are, what my crypto positions are exactly, check out my complete portfolio daily newsletter. First link in the description if you're interested. And we'll call it there, guys. Again, please shoot me a comment if you think I missed anything. I know obviously I didn't cover everything. These are just some things that I thought were exciting and wanted to talk about. So please let me know if there's anything else exciting happening that happened this week or that is happening next week that you would like me to cover in next week's Waves Weekly or in a video next week. A lot of exciting things happening right now. Very crazy times, and I just really appreciate you guys for sticking around with me, especially if you're around for this long and just hearing me spit into the microphone and rant. I truly appreciate you guys, and thank you for spending time with me. And until next time, you guys, always remember, take action, make waves. Peace.